A story broke this week that absolutely might destroy one of Donald Trump's biggest and best legal arguments for shielding any of his records from the January 6th Select Committee. Here's what this story had to tell us, and pay attention because this has got a lot of twists and turns here. In the days after the 2020 presidential election, you had Rudy Giuliani and Bernie Kerik working together in what they called a command center out of the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. They were also traveling around the country attempting to get the 2020 election results overturned, but the rooms at the Willard Hotel, that was the, again, command center. They're paying for the hotels, they're paying for travel, and at one point, they realized, we ain't got no money. How do we get money? So, they reach out to Jeanine Pirro at Fox News. And Jeanine Pirro then decides to reach out to Ronna McDaniel, chair of the Republican Party. Ronna says, yeah, I'm not going to pay for these things. So Pirro says, all right, let's reach out to the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign, not to Donald Trump personally, not to the President of the United States, but to the Trump campaign. And the Trump campaign said, yeah, hey, we'll pay. We're going to reimburse you for this stuff. You're doing work for us. We're going to pay for this. So that's the story. So you might be wondering at this point, what exactly does that have to do with Donald Trump's legal defense and trying to shield his documents from the January 6th Select Committee? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Donald Trump is trying to claim executive privilege over quite literally everything that he did, said, communicated, or tweeted on the day of January 6th. And this would include, leading up to it, because he's blocking those documents as well, payments to the individuals seeking to overturn the election. But since the Trump campaign paid for that, not Donald Trump, there is no claim of executive privilege that can be brought. This was a separate entity. This was an entity not being operated as an official government arm, but as a political campaign. So any and all documents related to the payments that Trump's campaign made to these individuals seeking to overturn the election results, which the committee believes is what incited the riot that day, you're screwed. You're going to have to turn those over. There is no court in this country, regardless of how conservative they are, that is going to allow a presidential campaign to claim executive privilege over documents, especially those related to payments. Payments are supposed to be public record anyway so that we know what the hell the campaign is paying for under the FEC rules. Trump's in trouble here, especially if he's the one who gave the green light to make these payments through the campaign. Then that would mean he was engaging in political activity, which would also not be protected under executive privilege. Now, I think it's pretty clear at this point, as I've repeatedly said, that Trump doesn't even have a claim to executive privilege to begin with. He is not the executive, therefore he cannot make that claim. The actual executive today, President Joe Biden, has already said, we're not claiming executive privilege for these documents. They all must be turned over. And of course, the National Archives already rejected Donald Trump's claims of executive privilege in their court filing that they did, I think it was this past weekend. But this new revelation about the Trump campaign actively paying these two morons to go out there and try to overturn the election, that turns things on its head. That absolutely does change things, and not in a good way for Donald Trump's defense.